In what ways does your media product use, develop or challenge forms and conventions of real media products? Firstly, I'm going to talk about my front cover and how I picked up the simplicity of the page from the magazines that I had analysed. The magazines had their own house styles, many different conventions I could have picked up. The main convention that I noticed throughout was how the main image would be the main focus, with the cover lines on the side of the page but still fairly visible. The image would be the main attraction and could be how you would attract the readers. Obviously, the image would consist of a famous star. Yes, my character is not a famous star, but I tried to represent it that way. I anchored the text which says "Talk of the Town," which does suggest he could be somebody everybody talks about. I included the cover lines on the right hand side of the front cover so it's out of the way, but also slightly in front of the image. I had done this purposely because I still want the cover lines to be noticed once you see the magazine. Something I had picked up from all three magazines was that the image would partially cover up the masthead. This brings the attention back to the main image and the person on the front cover. Furthermore, the masthead is still visible and you could still make out what it is. This is a convention I chose to follow because my audience would expect to see it. I had followed this convention because I believe it gives off the simple vibe. Also, I creatively organized the cover lines in a color-coded pattern, which is red and white. I picked this up from Hip Hop Weekly and Vibe magazine. I think it is a good convention not only because it is appealing to the human eye, but it also gives your magazine a nice vibe. Red and white were colours that popped up quite a lot throughout the magazines that I had analysed. My content page looks quite similar to the front cover. I saw that from both XXL and Vibe magazines had the image on the side of the page and the features on the other side of the page. The image would again take up quite a lot of space on the page and had the headlines and stories on the right side of the page. All three magazines had their masthead on the pages, but this time it was visible. I thought this would have been a good convention because people didn't really see the masthead quite clearly on the front cover. It was another chance so the audience can see the masthead and would know what mag they were reading. I followed the conventions of Vibe magazine and used only the one image. I think this was good because I had inserted more than one. It would have crammed and lose the simple vibe that I am trying to portray throughout the whole mag. One thing the magazines did have in common was that they all had the headlines on the front and the stories underneath. This was a good convention because it gives the reader a brief feel about the story and hopefully would make them want to read on. The main story would be linked to the image on the page. I also noticed that the main story that they are trying to promote will never be in the front pages but would be somewhere in the middle or near enough to the end because it keeps readers reading on until the main story. I believe that my double page spread is very interesting because of the conventions I used. Most of my ideas had come from XXL magazine because I believed it looked most hip hop. All magazines had the main image on the left side of the page. This image would take up a lot of space on the page and would have a headline anchored to the image. This convention will always be seen in the hip hop magazine and this is why I chose it. I also included a stand first because I thought this would give the audience a feel of what they are in for. It's short, doesn't go in a lot of detail, but it keeps the audience interested and wouldn't bore them. I had two columns which includes the story of the young artist. One thing that I did add by myself was the fact file on the bottom. I thought this would be an interesting convention to follow because this rapper is fairly new and it would be good if the reader just knew that little bit more about him.